For South Texas, Kidbury, South Texas. That's going to include Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Corpus Christi, Laredo, and the lower Rio Grande Valley. I'm also a MAPS technology coach and an active producing agent here in Katy, Texas, so just outside of Houston, where I live with my beautiful wife. I have twin 7-year-old girls, a 16-month-old baby girl, and baby girl number 4 is coming June 6th. So got a lot on my hands and loving every day of it. So I wanted to share with you guys today some strategies and some ideas around.
Can I interrupt you real quick, Marty?
Yes, of course you can, sir.
I'm sorry. I love you, man. You're awesome, but that's awesome. You're having a child come. You just kind of glance over it. June 6th. The funny thing about that, that's 66.
When the doctor told me, I didn't catch it because, right, like you're just there and they're like, the baby's healthy and she's breathing. And like, we didn't even know it's she. And, you know, you always get nervous and they're like, June 6th. And I'm like, cool, yay. I can't remember who I told the first time, but they were like, are you bleeping me? And I was like, no, I'm having a baby. And they're like, no, June 6th, really? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, 6-6. And I was like, oh, yeah. So it took a while for it to register with me, but yeah, kind of ironic how God works.
Funny thing is, for those people who are watching and they don't understand what we're talking about, Marty Miller is known for the 66-day challenge. So there's your 6-6 reference. Thank you again, Marty, for coming on. And I am actually looking really forward to this class. So it's all yours. You have the realm.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, you can find that 66-day challenge on YouTube. If you go do a search, 5.0 is the most recent full challenge. And then we have several mini series, just dropped one on the Command app this week as well. So feel free to check that out on YouTube. But today we're going to talk about mastering your database through digital marketing. My contact information on the screen. It'll also be on the last slide. That is my personal cell. You have an amazing RTT and amazing MCTTs, and yet if I can ever be of service, feel free to probably text me better, actually email and then text and then call in the order of my preference, and yet personal cell there on the screen for you guys. So let's talk about mastering your database through digital marketing and digital farming. First, I wanted to define farming because I think many people look at farming and they have some different concepts of what that might be. And so for today's class, the definition of real estate farming for us is a marketing technique that's used by successful real estate agents. And what they're looking to do is develop business in a specific area or market demographics, typically at a specific area. They are farming that area, neighborhood, community, zip code, depending on how rural or urban your area is, for leads and contacts, so that they can then involve them in things like direct mail, door knocking, social media, newsletters, email, any other sort of form of targeted advertising. So that's what we're really focusing on today. Obviously, you know, COVID has brought about an interesting landscape as far as real estate goes. We're super happy to hear that open houses are still happening in Florida, and in Texas, it's a little dicey, right? Definitely less of them being done. Certainly less door knocking being done. The amount of personal interaction, maybe it's changed for you. And so how do you continue to have that level of success? Well, hopefully incorporating a digital option is something that you would consider. So when you are looking to choose a farm area, I think there are some very important factors to consider prior to just saying, you know what, that's my farm. That's the area I'm going to do because that's the cool area or the hot area, or it's the $1 million home area, whatever it may be. Some things to consider, first of all, are proximity and knowledge. Guys, if you like your neighborhood, I would highly recommend that might be your first digital farm, is your actual neighborhood. If you don't like your neighborhood, move, right? But if it is your own neighborhood, obviously you're going to know it the best. You have the proximity to that neighborhood. You are in that neighborhood constantly. No one knows that neighborhood from a real estate point of view better than you do. So that might be the first one you consider. Otherwise, I don't know that it makes sense to farm a neighborhood that is geographically 40 miles away from you, because then what's the point of developing all those leads if it's going to take you an hour to drive there, an hour to drive back, whatever it may look like. So proximity and knowledge, important considerations. Average price point, also something to consider. All things being equal, Would you rather have a farm of $250,000 homes or a farm of $400,000 homes? And I didn't lose my audio. I'm just waiting for one of you to unmute yourself and tell us the answer that we all know.
400,000.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Jim with the win, right? 400,000. Why? Because if all things are equal, right? Brett putting in the chat, thank you. I appreciate that, right? So all things being equal, you are going to make more money on the $400,000 homes. That's a duh moment, but sometimes it's important to consider, because when you are looking at that price point, you have to determine, okay, now again, all things considered equal. Some of you are already thinking, well, Marty, 250K homes sell faster than 400K home. Well, you're going to look at that in just a second as well. What's the turnover rate? Another thing to consider in that farm, is there a dominant realtor? All things being equal, I'm great with competition. In fact, like Ryan can probably tell you, I'm a very competitive person. I thrive on competition. And yet, if I'm looking at two farms that are very similar to one another in price point, turnover rate, proximity, my knowledge of them, and one of them, 10 homes sold last year, and one realtor sold 6 of them. And in the other, 10 homes sold last year, and there wasn't a single realtor that sold more than one. Which one of those two neighborhoods might I consider farming? It sounds like the easier, lower hanging fruit might be the one where there's not a dominant realtor. So something to consider prior to choosing that neighborhood. Go through and look at the solds for the last 12 months. Maybe even go all the way back to 24 months. Is there a dominant realtor that has any sort of market share already in this neighborhood? And then consider that into your factors. Do you have access to that neighborhood online? Typically, that is through some sort of neighborhood Facebook group. And typically, most Facebook groups are very, at least in Texas, they are very territorial. You don't live here, we don't want you here, right? And it's the nicest, politically correct way you can say that. But if you don't live in our neighborhood, we don't want you a part of our neighborhood group. So what's the easiest way to get a part of a neighborhood group? Choose your own neighborhood, right? They have to let you in if you live in the neighborhood. Now we're going to be careful about what we do inside of that group so we're not kicked out. More slides to come on that. Finally, looking at turnover rate and your capture rate. So what is the turnover rate? Turnover rate is basically how many homes are in the neighborhood and how many sold last year, right? So if there's 100 homes in the neighborhood and 10 sold, all right, so 10 divided by 100, that's a 10% turnover rate. Now, if there's 1,000 homes in the neighborhood and 10 sold, well, that's a much lower now 1% turnover rate, right? So you are looking at what is the turnover rate. To be a dominant realtor in a neighborhood where only 1 or 2 homes sell a year, big whoop, right? Like you might be lucky you get one of those. And then you're like, I spent all this time, energy, and money, and there's no ROI. So that's the second thing, is looking at what that capture rate might be. If I were to get 20%, 30%, 40% of the listings that were sold in this neighborhood, what would that ROI look like? And then compare that to what your budget is to make sure that it makes sense. Guys, here's the reality, right? You are not going to get 100% of the listings sold unless there are only 1 or 2 listings being sold in that neighborhood. In Texas, tell me if this is the same thing in Florida, right? In Texas, you get pulled over and they ask you for a copy of your insurance and your real estate license. And you say, officer, don't you mean my driver's license? And the officer says, no, not everyone in Texas has one of those, right? That was the drum. I don't know who did that little sound effect, but it was perfectly on time, right? Everyone has a real estate license. So, and I didn't do that effect. So thank you for whoever did that intentionally or unintentionally. So everybody knows a realtor. You're never going to get 100% market share in any neighborhood because there'll always be somebody whose brothers, sisters, ex-wife's boss you want to impress, and therefore they're going to work with them, right? So what's your capture rate and ROI? Those are your considerations for choosing a digital farm. Now, the key to creating a millionaire real estate digital farm, it can be as simple as 6 contacts a day. Simple as 6 contacts a day. Now, the high C's are like, explain it, and I will, because I'm also a high C. Based upon average commission of 3%, if your average sales price is $250K, you guys can tweak this math based upon your own average sales price. But let's just say if the average sales price is $250K, I'm getting paid 3% on all of my deals because I deserve 3% on all of my deals. You would need to close 320 closed transactions in order to gross $1 million. Okay, 320 closed transactions to gross $1 million. That's from the MREA economic model. So this is also MREA. There's two paths to that 320 closed transactions. There's the met path and the haven't met path. You guys have read MREA, you already know this. If you haven't, go check it out. Path number one, the met route. For every 12 people, Gary teaches us this, for every 12 people in your met database that you market to 33 times a year, spoiler alert, that may be going to 36 in MREA 2, you should expect 2 sales, right? So 320 sales is what I need to achieve. Therefore, if I multiply that by 12 people and divide it by 2, I know that seems like weird math, but just remember for every 12, I get 2. You could do 320 times 6, but to follow the slide, 320 times 12 divided by 2 equals how many METs do you need in your database? Andrew Hicks, I'm going to pick on you because you're the only one I'm confident enough that has a microphone that works.
What's that? I'm sorry.
How many METs do you need in your database to achieve a millionaire real estate agent database or millionaire real estate agent? It's on the screen. It's at the very bottom.
Read it, Andrew.
What? I can't read. Why are you picking on me, Marty?
Yeah, Andrew's like,
That's the
never
secret. I don't
come
know how to read.
again. All right,
Right.
Brett, I'm coming to you next.
1,920.
There it is. Brandon, you're up next. You get on deck, right? So thanks, Andrew. I appreciate you playing along. I didn't set him up for that. 1,920 METs. Those are people that I have had a relationship with. They already know that I am working with, right? People that would recognize me in a lineup, that I would recognize them. Those are our METs. That's path number one. Not always the easiest path, and yet sometimes the lesser of the two, right? Because path number two is going to require more individuals. These are our haven't METs. MREA teaches us that for every 50 people in your haven't met database that you market to 12 times a year, you can expect 1 sale. Brett Bishop, if we're doing 320 times 50, how many haven't METs do I need in my database to gross $1 million?
16,000, Mr. Miller.
16,000, a ton, as Andrew would put it. 16,000 people in your database. How many of you have more than 16,000 people in your database right now? Put me in the chat. 16,000. All right, Brandon is our only potential haven't met database winner. So either you got two choices. I need more haven't METs or I need more METs in order to get to that point. So let's start looking at what our two options are. 1,920 METs, 16,000 haven't METs, or some combination of both. Let's get to the meat of today's presentation. Excuse me. How do I get those people in my database and how do I start to form relationships with them? All right, sourcing property owner information for your haven't met database. You have a digital farm. This is a neighborhood, an area, a zip code, whatever you're going to decide is my geographic farm. For me, it is my actual neighborhood, right? So the neighborhood that I am in, I'm actively farming it. Everything I'm about to show you is real life examples of what I'm doing in my basic business so that you can see I'm not just someone that says, go do it and tell me how it works out. I'm actually doing this. So first thing is to source their information. I start off with name and address. Where can I quickly and easily get the name and address of everyone that lives in my neighborhood? You can unmute or throw it in the chat. Where do I get that information?
Tax records, property.
Tax records, right? Go into your MLS, go into your actual CAD site, whatever it may be. I'm pretty sure that in Florida, you can access that tax information just as easily as we can access it here in Texas, right? So go in, there you go, IMAP, Remind, property appraiser site. You start off with the name and the address. Can I build a haven't met database of 16,000 people and market to them 12 times a year if all I have is their name and address?
Absolutely.
Yes, because what do I have? I have their name and their address, and all I have to do is reach out to them 12 times a year. What can I do to reach out to them 12 times a year if all I have, Chuck Morris for the win? If I had a prize, I would give it to you. We're going to direct mail them because, right, I have their name and address. At least it's a start, right? Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. There's a chance that you could become a millionaire real estate agent if you have 16,000 contacts with just their address. And yet we probably want to go a little bit further from there. So how do I get their email and phone number? You've got the friendly way, and then you've got the behind the scenes way. Both of them work. And I think I heard Floor talk about it earlier, right? The way that you can get information is to give something away or do a reverse bold 100. right? Giveaways are an excellent way to get information. Anybody have a Peloton that they love? Show of hands, right? Anybody want a Peloton? Show of hands. That's one of the most successful reverse bolds I've seen was a group that actually gave away a Peloton. Now you might say, wow, that's an expensive investment. Well, guys, think about it. How many deals do you need to do to cover the cost of one Peloton? My guess is probably one. So look at it. Is it a green egg? Is it, tickets to the sports games? That's not going to get you far in Houston. But right, that's just because we're Texans and we're horrible. You get what we're going for, right? So something you can give away, and in exchange for that giveaway, I am getting your phone number. I am getting your email address. I am getting your mailing address. It's even better if it's something I have to drop off, because then all that makes sense. Winner to be notified by phone and or email, prize to be hand delivered. Please make sure all information is accurate. So whether you're doing that as a Google form, whether you're doing that as something on your website, whether you're doing it through ads, you're doing some sort of giveaway. Okay, they know they're giving you their information. The other way is they don't necessarily know they're giving your information, but let's be real, all of our information is out there. Nothing is private these days. If you don't believe me, go to fastpeoplesearch.com right now, put in your name and your hometown, and I guarantee you will find your own contact record with plenty of identifying information. So you can choose whether you're going to do it right with their permission or without their permission. I recommend the second, but sometimes the first goes a little bit quicker. How do I want to get more information? Guys, think about Facebook. How many of you have your birthday on Facebook right now? I would guess all of you, because nothing says love like HBD from 500 strangers on your birthday, right? So you've got the birthday in there. Think about LinkedIn. How many of you have that you're a Keller Williams agent on LinkedIn? Are you looking up your neighbors and the people in your digital farm on LinkedIn? Are you looking them up on other different sites, right? So you can start to get some connections and some more information. Everything goes into command. Ryan, where does it go? Command. Right? Ryan's trying to find his mute button. He was having a snack, right? Absolutely. He knows that. You know that. I know that. Everything goes into command. And guys, this is where we get really important with tags. When I put somebody into my database, the first tag they get is the Falls at Green Meadows. That is my neighborhood. They get a tag for that neighborhood, right? When I'm pulling their information from the tax records, typically I can get more than one owner per property, right? It's two partners, husband, wife, whatever it may be, that own the house together. I then add a second tag and it says owner one or owner two. Why do I have owner one versus owner two? Guys, you know what's worse than sending one postcard to somebody that takes it straight from the mailbox and drops it in the trash? Send two postcards to somebody that then takes them straight from the mailbox and drops them in the trash, right? So you're going to have owner one and owner two, because when it comes time for direct mail campaigns, we are only sending postcards to owner one. Do not waste your marketing dollars sending two postcards to the same mailbox, because there's only one person that gets the mail. I don't know about you, but I don't stick my wife's mail back in the mailbox and say, well, she can come get that later, right? We get all the mail and either I look at it or she looks at it, but typically the postcards go straight into the trash. So one postcard, use owner one versus owner two. Do you have their profile or do you need their Facebook profile link? Have you looked them up on LinkedIn or have you not looked them up on LinkedIn? Different tags that you can build out. Now, what if you say, hey, I want to just get more people's information. I want to start getting more haven't mets. Guys, start running Facebook ads. On the screen, you're going to see two actual Facebook ads that I have run targeting people that live in Katy, but specifically, I'm looking for the people that live in my neighborhood, right? So what did I do? I looked at the average increase. Are prices increasing in your marketing? Put yes in the chat. If prices are increasing in your market, put yes in the chat. Edward, Brett, Brandon. All right, I'm going to go with yes. Becky Bell says yes as well. So have you looked up how much your market has increased? And when I say your market, your specific farm, go look at the average sales price for the last 12 months for your farm. What is it? And then I want you to look at the average sales price for the 12 months prior to that, right? So John is saying $90,000 for Palm Beach. Something tells me that's the increase and not the average sales price, right? So what is the increase? And if I say 8.8% increase in the value of your home over the last 12 months, does that have as much impact as what could you do with $52,919? When I say 8%, people are like, cool. When I say 52,919, they're thinking pool, right? It's like two different things. And I will tell you that second ad did significantly better than the first ad because 8% is something intangible. $52,919 is tangible. People are already thinking, wow, what could we do with $53,000? Now, I will tell you, the majority of the leads that have actually come from this were refis. However, if I help somebody refinance their home and so that they can then put a pool in, and I'm the guy they're thinking of while their kids are splashing around in the summer, we would have never had this pool if Marty didn't tell us about it. Then next time they hear something about real estate, who are they going to think of? Me, right? So again, we're continuing to build value in your neighborhood. What else can you do? You've got the name and the address. Start sending out postcards. Just so I can show you that this is actually legit. Here's the postcard, right? So not just a screenshot, here is the actual postcard, sorry, that gets sent out. Guys, here's my strategy. It may not work for you, it may not be your strategy, but this is exactly what I do. I drive around my neighborhood and I see houses that are for sale and I take pictures of them. I take pictures of the houses that are for sale. Why do I take the picture? So I can feature it on the postcard and not just steal the one off the internet? Because I don't look good in orange. Right? Don't get sued, guys. Nobody wants to get sued. So go take your own picture so you own the copyright to that actual photo. Right? And then I actually create a postcard that says, I actually create a folder. Let me take one step back of all of the active or under contract listings in my neighborhood. I have them sorted by address. At the end of the month, I go through and I say, what's sold? And then I just pull those photos because I've already got them in my database, right? And I create this postcard. Spoiler alert, this is actually an open house template inside of Designs in Command. You can create that today, right? So by the way, guys, don't get hung up on the design subcategories inside of WeBrand. I've had so many people are like, I really like that ad, but I like that design, but I can't find it under just listed. It's a squirrel, but guess what? 2 words, just listed, under contract, open house, coming soon, just sold. They're only 2 words. They're all the same 2 words, right? So any of those are interchangeable inside of design. Sorry to get off on a tangent, but it just bothers me when people are like, I can't find any good designs in open house. I'm like, well, then go look and just listed. You can just use the same exact designs, right? So what sold last month? Take your own photos. Take them while the property is listed. Typically, it's the time when nobody's at the house, right? Can I disclose price in Florida? I don't know your rules. Is Florida a disclosure or non-disclosure state? Disclosure, so you can tell them what it sold for. In Texas, it's non-disclosure. So I can't tell you what 6311 Asbury Brook Court sold for. However, I can tell you the average price of all the homes that sold in the neighborhood, right? So you guys can decide how you want to do that. If you want to actually have the sold price, you could add that in, or you could just have the averages. What does this do for the people that get this postcard? What does this do for the people that get this postcard?
It gets them thinking.
About what, Brandon?
Maybe,
I wonder what my house is worth.
or if I were to move, where would I go?
Yeah, right?
Bit of FOMO.
I wonder what my house is worth. I've been in that Asbury Brook Court. It wasn't even that cute, and it sold in 3 days. Right? That's all. Don't lie. We all have that neighbor that wants to just see the inside and the outside and says, well, if they sold in 10 days, we should sell in 2. It starts to get them wiser as well on the back about what the average home price is in their neighborhood. How many of your neighbors actually know what the average sales price is for your neighborhood? Do you think they're all paying attention? Right? So it makes them smarter. Start sending out postcards. What can you do next? And guys, this is all done through command, by the way, right? All of it done through command. Are you a part of the Facebook group? Are you a part of the neighborhood Facebook group? Sanella, what are we not going to do inside of those Facebook groups? Check out my newest listing. Check out my newest listing. Check out my You Got Banned. Right? They literally just block you from the group because most of those Facebook neighborhood groups say what you cannot do. Sell, right? We have our little buy, sell, trade group over here, Sanella. You can hang out over here with like all the, random crap that people put on those buy, sell, trade groups, right? You get 0 traction for your new listings in there. How do I get traction inside of a Facebook group? Guys, are you aware that you can create a marketing video inside of Command? a simple and easy marketing video inside of Command that talks about the neighborhood features of your specific farm. If you don't, reach out to your Market Center tech trainer and they will teach you how to do it. If you're a Market Center tech trainer that doesn't know how to do it, reach out to Ryan and he will teach you how to do it. But here's the actual post. Guys, I don't just make this stuff up. This is the post that I put in my actual neighborhood group. We moved in July. Did I say, check out my newest listing? Did I say, are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in the next 6 to 12 months? No. I just said, hey, I'm working on a real estate neighborhood marketing video for my day job. And the first neighborhood I wanted to feature was ours. So because I'm new to the neighborhood, there's this thing that's called neighborhood features that I can use for the video. I just wanted to know what you thought the top neighborhood features for our neighborhood were. Would you mind answering this short poll? Over 100 votes in total from my neighbors. And again, guys, it's only about 400 homes. It's not a massive neighborhood. Over 100 votes from neighbors saying what all the different ones were, right? What their specific favorite feature was. Did I talk about real estate in this post? Yeah, sort of, right? I mean, I did say it was a real estate neighborhood marketing video for my day job, right? So it's actually telling you that I am a realtor, but did I come out and put it in your face that I am a realtor? No, I just kind of said, hey, here's what's going on, right? Then what do you do after you create the video? Well, you got to go post the video, right? And so here's the follow-up post. Again, real life examples of what I did inside of my neighborhood group. Now, it was a very dramatic and stressful event that brought about this actual post. And yet it was even more impactful and I couldn't have planned this to happen, right? So the number one thing, right? What does it say? Friendly community. And I literally, when I'm doing this, guys, I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, all neighborhoods say that. We'll see. Again, right? I've only been in the neighborhood a couple of months by this point. So a month later, I make a post. I said, hey, about a month ago, I made a poll in this group and landslide victory was friendly community. But I figured, hey, everybody says that. And then I saw it in action. As a mom posted in our Facebook group, my son went jogging early this morning and he has not come back. He didn't take his keys, his phone. We had gotten into an argument this morning and I'm very worried and concerned about him. Can you help? Guys, I am telling you, you look out the front window, which I do in my study, look out the front window. I'm seeing people on foot. I'm seeing people on Gator. I'm seeing people driving around. Immediately, the group lights up with comments. I'm going here. I'm going here. I'll check the bayou. I'll walk down this place. I'll go check out the new construction and ask all the workers there if they've seen anybody. I'll start knocking on doors in the front half. You start knocking on doors in the back half. I mean, we didn't know this. She's just a neighbor. I didn't know the kid. I don't know, but I'm out there walking around just asking the painters in my broken Spanish, like, hey, do you happen to see? And I got my picture of the kid on the phone, right? Literally came together and ultimately he had attempted to run away and they did find him. They brought him back home. Everything's good now, right? And yet it was an amazing way for me to know, one, I moved into the right neighborhood, and two, here's a way to feature that post. By the way, if you do a poll about a video, what's the next easiest thing to do? Don't you think the people that voted want to know what the video looks like? Here's the video, right? So you got to post the video. So did I ever talk about sales? Not once. But do they know I'm in real estate? Yes, absolutely, right? Sometimes passive is better than aggressive because aggressive gets you kicked out of the groups, right? It is inferred. You're correct, Chuck, right? So haven't mets are now turning into mets. I've been farming my neighbors, but now I'm starting to get to know them. I'm actually starting to get their emails and their phone numbers, their profiles, their LinkedIn. What can I start doing? First of all, put them on a smart plan. And there are plenty of them out there. I'm going to recommend a few of them for you. First of all, the monthly neighborhood nurture, as long as Nextdoor has a neighborhood for your farm, right? If Nextdoor has a neighborhood for your farm, you should put them on the monthly neighborhood nurture. Automatically gives them more information about the farm. Next off, if you haven't seen Kimber Walton's 36 touch smart plan, for any of you that used to use eEdge and you miss your eEdge drip campaigns, or those of you that are Market Center tech trainers and field all of the requests, oh, I just missed my drip campaigns. If you miss them, I'm sorry, they weren't that good. And yet I get the reasons why you missed them. Kimber has recreated something very similar, right?
And she's teaching it today.
Say again, Ryan?
And she's teaching it today.
Oh, is she? Sweet. I didn't even know she was teaching. There you go. I stole a little bit of her
Thanks
thunder.
for the plug.
So yeah, stick around and see it. It is a set it and forget it kind of smart plan, 9 months, 1 week per month, evergreen content. So it doesn't matter where you are or when you get to put them in. It's an amazing thing. No, she did not pay me to say that, right? What other smart plans should you have if you have their birthday or home anniversary? Quarterly call, right? All 3 of those. And guys, quarterly call is even more important now that we can make those calls from the app. I'm sure someone's talking app today at some point if they haven't already. So, all right, moving on. Strategy 2, retarget them with additional Facebook ads.
Ani will be on today to talk about it.
There you go, right? So I have all of my neighbors. Now I'm going to tell you, I kind of cheated. I didn't cheat. I just moved into real estate heaven. And what I mean by that is about 2 months after starting all of this work, my wife, who's also a real estate agent, but focuses on our family and our financials, she comes in and she's like, what are you doing? I'm kind of explaining to her about how excited I am about farming the neighborhood. And she's like, well, do you just want their information? And I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I have the directory. I said, there's a directory? And she goes, yeah, they gave it to us when we moved in. Like they brought it by and then they emailed me a copy. I said, are you, what? Every name, every address, every phone number, and every email is in a directory. So if you know of a farm that exists like that, might want to consider moving in. It gets a lot easier, right? So to be fair, I have all of my neighbors' contacts. Now I already had their addresses because my cyberbacker and I were working on that together. And then we ended up getting all their phone numbers and email addresses. So what can I do now that I have their email addresses and their phone numbers? Guys, I can create a custom audience for a Facebook ad. Pop quiz. What's the smallest radius for a Facebook ad inside of Command that you can do using the Keller Williams Command platform? What's the smallest radius? 15, right?
15.
Andrew, Edward, right on the dot, 15 miles. How do I get smaller than that? You create a custom audience of people that live in a neighborhood less than 15 miles, right? So I literally had a tag. Remember the first tag that I add to everybody in my database that lives in my neighborhood? It's the neighborhood tag. Create a custom audience using the falls at Green, the falls at Green Meadows, right? That's the tag for my neighborhood. Now I'm actually running ads targeting those individuals because I don't know if they saw the first one, but now that I have all of their information, I'm running those same ads. Now, 291 impressions doesn't sound like much. However, guys, the audience size was 336. 86% of the people in my audience group saw my ad. How often can you say that that is happening? That 86% of the people you intend to see your ad actually see it. In addition, I did a lot of A/B testing. You saw that in the last slide, right? 8.8% versus 52,000. Which one of those do you think did better? It was the exact same message. It was just the ad content was different. 52,000 by far got more impressions and more clicks. All right, this is just one more touch of that 33 or 36 touch. Where do I lead them to when they click? First of all, I do not use the capture form. Why do I not use the capture form? I don't use the Facebook information capture form. I send them directly to a landing page. Why?
You already have their info.
I already have their information. I don't need to capture it a second time, right? I already have it. That's how I created the audience, because I already have their email and phone number. So send them directly to the landing page. I went to my KW site, martymiller.kw.com. I searched for the Falls at Green Meadows. It pulled up the neighborhood page. That becomes my landing page. I just send people directly to that neighborhood landing page. So what does it all end up costing? How do you do this, right? What is the final kind of, if I want to replicate it, and guys, I hope you do, if I want to replicate this form or any part of this digital farming, what's it going to cost me? My digital farming strategy includes direct mail plus Facebook ads plus targeted social content. I send out 1 postcard per month. I run 1 to 2 ads per month, and I do 1 to 2 targeted social posts. So that's in my neighborhood or in my neighborhood Facebook group. Guys, are you tracking the average sales price per square foot for your neighborhood? When was the last time you set a record in your own neighborhood? Do you know? Because it's happening right now. Home values have never been this high, and they're continuing to go up. So I guarantee you, if you go track what was the highest home per square foot that's ever sold in the neighborhood, you're probably setting records right now. Have you told your neighbors about that? What's even more fun is hold a contest and give something away. I had an Amazon Echo. It was like the 13th one that I've been gifted, because I guess that's what you give to somebody that does tech, right? Andrew, you feel me? You got a couple of those sitting around, right? So I just said, hey, I'm going to give away, 5 of them. I'm going to give away this Amazon Echo. And for people that don't do tech, they're like, yay, that's cool. That's fun. And I said, for the first person that can guess the closest record that we just set in our neighborhood for price per square foot, spoiler alert, it was between 175 and 225. Over 150 guesses. People are talking about, are we doing prices right rules? And I'm like, I guess. And then they're like 199, and then someone comes in like 189.99, and they're like, oh, you're cold-blooded. And then there's banter happening on this post, and like it's all this kind of fun interaction and everything. And it's for an Amazon Echo that literally didn't cost me anything, but if I wanted to buy it, I could probably get it for 50 bucks. And again, it's social interaction. By the way, who do I start getting known as in the neighborhood Facebook group? The guy that knows everything about real estate, right? What's going to happen at the first of the year if I bought new construction? I'm pretty sure this happens in Florida as well. What do I need to make sure that I file for? Y'all do homestead exemptions in Florida?
Yes.
Yes, perfect, right? Do all the people in your farm that just bought new construction know about homestead exemptions and how easy it is to file for one? And if not, could you be the person that teaches them how to do that, where to go, what to say, what form to fill out? Here's a link to the website, whatever it is, right? What happens in April and May, at least in Texas? I'm guessing this probably happens there too, right? April and May, what typically happens? Well, the good old appraisal district comes out and says, this is what we think your house is worth. And because we love to sell it for that, but we don't want to pay taxes on it, what do we all want to do, right? We want to protest. Oh, we don't think it's worth that much. What do we need typically when we protest our taxes? Do you just get to say, I don't think it's worth that? And then they're like, okay, you're right, we'll lower it. Or do you have to provide data? Florida is capped. Okay, maybe this isn't going as far as, yeah, Texas is capped, 10%, right? However, does your house go up 10% every single year? Are there years where it might not go up 10%? Do they need the comps? That was the goal, right? So they need the comps. Back to the slide. So what do you end up with? Between the postcards, the ads, the social interaction, layered with the smart plans that I'm doing, I easily have a 33 touch, which is a systematic marketing and prospecting technique. Go look up MRA page 147. What's my budget? It's now 64 cents because the post office went up. But at the original creation, it was 56 cents. About $168 for the postcards. Right now, it's about $200, right? Ads recommended, I do $25 per ad, cost me $50 per month. My social posts are free. That's exactly the digital strategies that I use. Could you spend more? Sure. Do you have a bigger farm? You'll have to because you have more homes. Do you have to have that larger farm? No. Could you run more ads? Sure. Could you not run the ads at all? Sure. Totally up to you to choose your own adventure novel, right? But this is basically what that digital farming strategy looks like. So now that I've continued to grow this farm, how do I continue to, now that I've grown this farm, how do I continue to grow it? How do I build it larger? What's next? Some other things to think about doing inside of your farm. Open houses. As if you have the opportunity to get a listing in your farm, you better open house the heck out of it, right? Like Saturday, Sunday, maybe every other Friday, you want to make sure that as many neighbors as possible. That's the only time we like looky-loos coming into our open houses is when they're neighbors, because now they're members of your farm. So you start to get to know them and get to meet them, right? With permission and depending upon your broker, if there are listings in the neighborhood that somebody else has, and it's possible to hold them open, consider holding those open as well, right? Are you doing any sort of quarterly or semi-annual neighborhood gathering? National night out, trick or trunk, right? Hot dogs and cool dogs, right? I totally ripped that off, by the way. It was one of those things where they had a neighborhood park and the realtor literally just grilled out hot dogs. They went and bought a bunch of those like 26 chip bags, you know what I'm talking about, like the Doritos and the Cheetos. They just put those out with hot dogs, hot dog buns, and like the relish and all that stuff. And it was a bring your own dog, eat your own dog event. So then all the neighbors got to bring their dogs and hang out and kind of see each other and whatever. And you can come free, have a free hot dog. It was hot dogs and cool dogs. We have a poker tournament that happens in our neighborhood. They just did a chili cook-off that happened in our neighborhood. Do you know who sponsored the koozies for the beverages for the chili cook-off?
Already did.
This guy, right? So how are you getting involved? How are you getting engaged inside of each one of those events? We talked about tax appraisal. If that makes sense, right, for your market, consider, right, door knocking and letting them know, hey, tax appraisals are coming out if you need help with comps, or if it's homestead, right? Our neighborhood is about half new construction, half existing inventory. So people are continuing to buy. You better believe it that come January, I'm going to be knocking on all the doors of the new houses, just letting them know, hey, I'm the local neighborhood realtor. Here's a little bit of information about filing for a homestead exemption. You may want to consider it. And then digital connections can lead to personal connections. If they know you, if they recognize you, they're going to start interacting with you, right? And that's much higher chance of meeting. You're much more likely to make a personal connection, right? And there's that little cartoon. Let's go back to meeting online. You're much better looking there, right? Hopefully that's not the reality. So everybody wants to know kind of the numbers. Yes, absolutely. I will get those slides over to Ryan, and then Ryan can distribute them as necessary, right? So how the real life example, everyone wants to know, like, is this potential? Like, oh, I've ran 6 ads and there's potential income. It's always my favorite thing to see on people's posts. So I'm very transparent with you. The farm has been built out. I've been farming it for 6 months. I've had 5 now appointments, and I use that word loosely. 3 of them just wanted to know what their house was worth so that they could actually refi. One person is planning as soon as I can find him, planning to sell as soon as I can find him the right house to buy. Any of you in that situation where they're like, yeah, you can sell it as long as you help us buy this property out in the country that's, whatever. So we are actively looking at property for him. As soon as I can find him the right property, I will get that listing. The 5th appointment, I did not get the listing. And the reason why is he said, I feel like in today's market, you could put any sign in the front yard and it would sell. And he wanted me to do it at 1%. Guys, I stick to my guns. I'm a 3% professional realtor. I will not reduce my listing commission, period, end of story. That listing is still on the market after 21 days so far. So am I keeping track of that listing? Absolutely. Do I intend to reach out to him at some point if he terminates? Absolutely. Right. So keep an eye on those listings that you don't get. So have I made a single dollar from this farming strategy yet? No. Just being real life with you, right? And yet 6 months in, I guarantee if you ask anyone in this neighborhood, hey, who's the guy to know about real estate? It's going to be me. And when I created this digital strategy, I said 12 months for one listing. Because based upon my budget, one listing in 12 months, I'll break even for the first year. And you're like, I'm going to do all this to break even for 1 year. I want to be a millionaire real estate agent. Well, the gentleman that was speaking earlier, he's a millionaire real estate agent at what point? Was it year 1 or was it year 3? Right. So you can build this into something much bigger. Just know that it is the long game. And that's what we're always playing, is the long game, right? By next year, do you think that it's going to be much easier to get listing appointments? Because now, how many postcards have they gotten? And by the way, this postcard, I don't know where I put the other, oh, I'm teaching in another market center later on, so they're all in my book. All right, so this is the exact same postcard. The only thing that changes on this postcard are the photos and the addresses. The back, the only thing that changes on the back of this postcard is the actual data, but it looks exactly like this every single month. Right, so it is exact. Now I lied, hang on real quick. We had a weird month. Where not a single resale happened, right? And all the new construction was off MLS. And so I'm like, oh crap, what do I do now? I literally don't have a single photo to do the postcards. And this was month 5. So do I stop doing the postcards? Do I send out like, here's what sold 2 months ago and they look very similar to the last one? Like what exactly do you send out? Well, guys, that's when you go make a Facebook post and you say, do any of our neighbors have their own businesses? You own your own business and you would like a little more PR. If so, this is the actual post. Please email me with your name, the name of your business, your website, and what it is you sell, along with your logo. 7 responses in less than 24 hours. So what do? You create a postcard that has the logos and websites for all of your neighbors' businesses. Now I could only feature 4, but the other 3, here, let me make it even bigger. The other 3, right, are gonna be featured on future postcards. And so this is literally the actual postcard that I sent out that has my neighbors' businesses. The cool thing was, is I got to actually post this to the Facebook group. I said, hey, by the way, guys, had an overwhelming response. Did you know how many of our neighbors actually own their own businesses? Because am I selling for them? Sort of, but I can't get kicked out for promoting somebody else, can I? The answer was no. And when I promote all of their businesses, what are they going to do by nature? Yeah, some of you said it. You were just all on mute. Whose
Reciprocate.
business are they going to promote?
Yours.
Mine, right? Because when I promote theirs, they're going to promote mine. And what did this cost me? Guys, it cost me exactly the same as this one cost me. But I wasn't going to stop doing this one. This just presented itself. And here's the fun part. In December, this is not what's going out, and this is not what's going out. It's going to be a Merry Christmas postcard with pictures of my family that says Merry Christmas from my family to yours. The December stats or November stats will still be on the back, but I'm going to make it a little more personal, right? And we did the family photos. It's going to be really good looking family photo, really good looking family photo, really good looking family photo. And then that candid one where none of the kids are looking and they're fighting and like pulling each other's hair, right? If you've done family photos, you know, there's always that candid photo. That's also going in there. Why? Because you got to be real with people, right? Anyone done one of those family headshots and had that photo and they still sent it to you? And I'm almost like, why did you send it? And then I'm like, wait a minute, I love it. Let's get real with our neighbors. Sorry, I realize that that's me and that's my Discord going off in the background. So I apologize. Turnaround time on the postcard. So here's my information one more time. And then yes, I figured we do questions for the last 10 minutes or so here. All right, so there's my information. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen anymore. Haha. There's my information one more time. So feel free to email me. Please don't email me for the slides. Ryan will have the slides and Ryan can distribute those as necessary. So he'll get those out. But if you have any other follow-up questions, feel free to reach out on that. I did see some in the chat, so we're going to stop the share. Grace asked about the turnaround time on MCTT's professional note. Before you present, turn off your Discord. All right, there we go. So what's the turnaround time on the postcard? How quickly can you create them? And then typically it is about 2 to 3 days for printing. They actually say this when you do the campaign, just so you know, right? 2 to 3 days for printing, business days, and then it's usually about 4 to 6 business days. So I usually see it because these come to me, right? I'm actually a contact in my own database with the Falls at Green Meadow tag. So I get this in my mailbox. It's usually about a week and a half, 2 weeks, somewhere in that range, right? So plan ahead. Do I care when this hits the mailbox? Not really. As long as it gets there during the month, it's fine. Now, if I'm doing an open house this weekend, am I going to send out postcards today about that open house this weekend? No, they're not going to get there in time. You're going to be advertising an open house and now strangers are going to be knocking on someone's door and you're not even there and it just gets awkward, right? So make sure that you're actually giving yourself enough lead time as far as that goes. Guys, stop putting your email in the chat. Ryan's going to get it out to everybody, right? So with love and respect, he will get it out to everybody. You don't have to put your email in there.
Yeah, don't worry
one
about it.
person
We'll get
probably
it.
did it on accident and everyone else followed. It's my favorite thing that happens in the chat.
Marty, can you show the slide with your contact? I think I had your phone number wrong, so I was trying to check that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get back to that PowerPoint slideshow from current and then share the screen. Hang on. There we go. Can you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Cell phone, email, and profile photo with a little more hair than I have today. Any other questions about digital farming? I'm kind of trying to slide up through all of the rest of those. So how did I know that they viewed my actual Facebook ad? How did I know that 81%? So that's a great question. When you're looking at your stats of your Facebook ads, you actually do get metrics within command, and impression is a view. So impression means they saw it. Now, did they see it for a split second while they were thumb scrolling through everything else? Yes. Did they stop and actually analyze and read the post? I don't know. And yet I know they saw it, right? So I know that they saw it. And again, remember, this is about consistency. How often are they getting these postcards? Every month. Ideally, how often are they seeing my brand on Facebook? Twice a month, maybe once a month, depending on if they're in the 88% or the 12%, right? How often do they see me walking our family with the dog wearing KW gear? By the way, you've probably seen me in this polo if you've ever seen me present anything else, because it's the only thing that I ever wear. It is about consistency and brand recognition, right? So they always see KW. When I was in the poker tournament, guess what hat I wore? Yep, the KW hat, right? When I went to the chili cook-off, guess which fleece I wore? Yep, the KW one, right? I don't have anything on my vehicle I had a wrapped vehicle at one point and we had an incident. And so I don't have anything, it was my fault, but I don't have anything identifying on the vehicle. But if you have a magnet or a license plate frame or your vehicle is completely wrapped, even more reason to choose your own neighborhood, because what neighborhood is your car always driving through? At least twice a day, maybe sometimes 10 or 20 times a day, your own neighborhood, right? So reasons you want to put in, but impressions, this is, and again, you may look at this one particular slide and say that Marty's full of crap. He got 0 leads on that ad. Remember, I got 0 leads on this ad. Why? This ad sent them directly to the landing page. There was no lead capture. Why? I already had their information, right? This specific ad was targeting my farm. It was targeting using that tag of people that I already had their email and phone number, right? This is kind of the retargeting that you do. Let me stop that share and then look at the rest of the chat. So Facebook personal versus Facebook business ads can only be run on Facebook business page. Patricia, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't gotten into the Google Ads side of things. I'm still waiting for you to go first. So you let me know how that works out and we'll take it from there. Facebook was just simple, easy, quick. I knew that very well as well. What's the fastest way to get the Facebook names in to create your group? If you don't already have a neighborhood Facebook group, congratulations. You know who can't kick you out of a Facebook group for your neighborhood? Is you, if you are the admin. So what a great opportunity. Go create a Facebook group for your neighborhood and then start doing things like door knocking, start doing things like sending out postcards, start doing things like discussing it every time that you see people at the playground or whatever it may be, right? Hey guys, we created a Facebook group to kind of foster a community inside of our own little neighborhood here. And that way we can kind of talk about things that are happening. Here's the link. Here's the link. I would create business cards. I might create postcards, give them out everywhere I saw my neighbors, right? To get more people inside of that group. How many contacts with an address would you recommend for Facebook to target a specific neighborhood? So great question, John, excuse me. John, you have to have at least 100. The recommendation is 300. And you have to have the Facebook email or Facebook phone number that they use to log in. So at one point, I had a strategy where I was going to target agents outside of my market, offering a 30% referral fee for listing referrals to Katy, Texas. That still stands. So send me all your listing referrals for Katy in West Houston. I have tons of agents in my database, right? Because I work with them all across South Texas and then all across the nation. I created a Facebook audience of Keller Williams agents and it failed. Why? Raise your hand if you log into Facebook using your @kw.com email address. And all the hands went down, right? So it was looking for that email address and saying, we don't recognize this one. We don't recognize this one. We don't recognize this one. So yes, you do need to make sure that you have at least 100 contacts where Facebook recognizes the phone number or the email address as login. Tony's asking about EDDM. Are they as effective as labeled with the owner's names? I don't know, Tony. If I came up to you and said, hey, you, how are you? Or if I came up to you and said, hey, Tony, how are you today? Which makes a stronger connection? My dad was an elementary school principal growing up, and we always knew the good kids. Do you know why we always knew the good kids growing up? Because when we were at the grocery store, someone would say, hey, Mr. Miller. And my dad would say, hey, you. And we would all laugh and be like, Dad, you don't know his name, do you? And he's like, nope, he's one of the good kids. Right? Because he only remembered the bad kids because they were the ones that were coming into the office. So I definitely recommend putting people. Now you can do mailers inside of Command using a specific geographic boundary, right? You can actually trace out your neighborhood and send them out without having their contact information in Command. However, it goes to current resident versus actually saying. So if you don't have them in and you don't want to take the time to actually build out the database, I would still go with Command over EDDM. One, EDDM, I have to pay for the entire route. And very rarely can I get a full neighborhood and only a neighborhood using one route, something to consider. Two, I don't like having to go to the post office. The first time I see these postcards is when they show up in my personal mailbox. So I don't have to have them printed. I don't have to label them. I don't have to stamp them. I don't have to do anything with them other than what I do inside of Command Designs, which once you create it once, now all I'm doing is changing the photo and the information on the back, super easy after the first time. And two, I don't have to take all that time and everything there as well. All right. Yeah, I had to change my driving style, Ryan. And then I unwrapped my car and drive like a bat out of hell again. So yes, if you are going to put anything identifying on your vehicle, make sure that you're driving friendly. That was the situation. My broker actually got called. It was fun. So if your vehicle is wrapped, make sure that you're driving friendly. Is it possible to add the contact's first name to the postcard? Hernan, if you are targeting your database, it'll actually be their first and last name. So it'll actually say, like you can see on the back here, it actually says Marty Miller. You can see that, whatever, it's a little blurry. But it says Marty Miller because it targeted the contact in my database as compared to just targeting one person. Does it make a difference as far as reach if you do the ad through command rather than outside of it? Patricia, I will say this, one, running an ad in Facebook Ad Manager is a much more complicated process with many more opportunities to screw it up than it is inside of command. So that's why I recommend running those ads inside of command. Yeah, Lori St. John, yeah, if you've got 1,000 homes and you're growing a really big, right, you may actually have one route or multiple routes that cover your neighborhood. But again, you're gonna have 100 postcards that you have to then bundle and wrap and take to the post office and all that kind of stuff. So hard to add 1,000 names in the database. I don't know if this holds true for you. My tax records had an export function that exported to CSV. It's like the holy grail, right? This is when I was doing all that work that my wife didn't tell me she already had that work done, right? But I was able to actually go into the tax records, pull the actual, anyone that there was a filter for neighborhood. So I put in the filter neighborhood, the Falls of Green Meadows. It gave me a list of all of the contacts, whether they were owner 1 or owner 2, and then what their address was. And I was able to export that document CSV wise. Then it was just a simple copy and paste to the command CSV. And then I brought it right back in. I put in the tags before I brought it in. But yeah, so Lori, something to consider. I don't know. We use Matrix here in Houston. I don't know what your tax or what your MLS
Actually, they do
setup is.
that.
You do have it? Okay.
Yeah, they do. Actually, I did do that. I forgot I had done that like some time ago, but they do it. It's amazing. They charge $25.
There you go. Right. And
Yeah.
then you basically have that list. You just put some tags on that list inside of the command CSV, right? Are they owner 1? Are they owner 2? Everybody gets a neighborhood tag, you know, whatever you're going to, if you have a Facebook profile or not, if you have their LinkedIn profile or not, and then you bring them into command. And now, because all of them have that Falls owner 1 tag, that's how I send out my postcards is I just create an audience. Everybody with the tag Falls owner 1 gets a postcard. And that way I do it all through command. I don't have to worry about any other kind of setup. Will the mapping feature in command send to the owners that don't live in the home out of town owner? Tony, it depends on what address you have in the contact record. So my tax records provided mailing address and property address. So I put in property address for primary in command. But if you wanted to put in mailing address, you could. It depends. We don't have a lot of tenants in our neighborhood. So they're almost all 100% owner occupied. So there wasn't a lot of discrepancy actually between the two addresses. It would be up to you. But if your tax record will allow you to export mailing address, then you might consider putting that in. Guys, I am up on my time. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to get involved with your MCTTs, your RTTs, or your RTT. Whatever, right? As many as you have. Ryan's the best. Or feel free to shoot me an email, send me a text. Happy to help. I will send the slides to Ryan. He'll get them back out. And that's a wrap, buddy. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.